I am Dr. Ray Dykes, and this is the Personal Faith Program, a series of podcasts on personal faith with a passion, how to know what you really believe. We're into the last part of this series, and this is about bringing your personal faith to conscious expression. How can you consciously express what you believe about the nature of God? So now it's time to pull it all together into one piece to see how the bricks are stacking up into a structure, your personal spiritual house of faith. I encourage you to look for consistencies and inconsistencies, parallels and contradictions between one brick and another. For example, does your concept of God allow you to favor the pro-life position and favor capital punishment simultaneously? Or to reverse the equation, does your concept of God allow you to favor pro-choice position and be opposed to capital punishment simultaneously? Turning to another ethical issue, does your concept of God permit the condemnation of homosexuality while winking at marital infidelity? Or, on the other hand, does your concept of God permit the acceptance of homosexuality and insistence on husbands and wives being faithful to one another? Does your concept of God include forgiveness for bad choices, accidents, and evil acts? Do you always experience God in the same way or in different ways? Have you solved for yourself the problem of Jesus and how Jesus relates to God? What is your answer to the question of the relationship between Holy Spirit and God? Is the Bible a literary God or a book of faith for you? These are just a few ways to compare your bricks to make sure there is integrity in your spiritual house of faith. Take the time to think through your belief bricks before you begin your expressions of faith. Otherwise, you will be sending out garbled and confusing messages, expressions without integrity or passion. Now here's one person's written expression of faith. I see God today as a kind and loving God. He's not a Santa Claus I want him to be. He doesn't buy me cars, give me money, or get me jobs. He does give me the strength to get those things for myself. I don't think he cares very much about what kind of car I drive, or what kind of house I live in, or what kind of job I have. He does care about what makes me happy, and he wants me to have everything that will make me happy. One of God's great gifts, best gifts, is the gifts of clarity. I have insight today that I didn't used to have. I see and comprehend things today that used to pass me by. I see a bigger picture than I used to. Another gift is that I am now able to feel. 9 years ago, I was completely numb. I was not able to cry when I hurt, nor when I felt joy. Today, I cry at both. Anyway, I do feel God today more than I ever have. I connect at least once a day, and most days several times. Most of my days are peaceful, and most of the time, my mind is peaceful. That's a big deal. A woman living in Montgomery, Alabama, wrote that. Does your verbal expression of faith have integrity, or are there contradictions within it? It's important that your belief bricks fit together at critical points. However, your experiences and your hopes are the most accurate validators of your belief bricks, experience and hope. Now, after an intense period of introspection and hard work to sort through the faith options and choose for yourself what will be your faith, it's time to turn your eyeballs around and look out at the world and the human race and express your faith in the many ways faith can be expressed. In other words, if it isn't going through you, it isn't getting to you. Personal faith with a passion is like a wire conducting electricity. It has to pass through you to others. If it stops with you, the electricity shorts out and a fuse is blown. The end result of knowing what you really believe is not to sit alone in your spiritual house of faith, but to go out of that house each day you can to express your faith in conscious ways. Your spiritual house of faith will serve as your base camp for climbing the mountain every day. Another way to say it, you only get to keep what you give away. If you sit on your faith, you lose. If you express your faith, you win. You get to keep it. If you give away what you believe, you're throwing your straw in the wind, and the wind may carry it to people who need your straw. God can show up in a clear, revelatory manner when you stop sitting around waiting for God and start doing what you believe God wishes you would do. This step is critical for you if you want God to keep communicating to you and if you want to strengthen your faith by living it. You lose whatever you hoard, including your money, your love, your joy. Finding the freedom to gather your own straw and believe in your own experiences takes courage. Affirming your freedom to gather your own straw and confidence in the validity of your experiences pose another danger. You have to walk a fine line. Now you're acting on what you believe God is revealing to you, perhaps not to anyone else, just to you. One of the great dangers of spiritual life is thinking that you're acting under God's direct orders and being completely mistaken. Some of the evil that has been done in the world has been done in the name of God. There are ways to avoid falling into the trap of misguided righteousness. When God seems to be saying that the end justifies the means, watch out. You can find plenty of straw and clay to keep you on the right track if you resist the temptation to think too highly of yourself. Often, you don't know what spiritual truth you're discovering until the end of the process. Only then can you articulate what you believe and begin testing it. Now your faith becomes visible. Without this step, you cannot truly grow. You often know that the belief bricks are solid enough by the sense of awe, peace, or joy that your newly recognized faith gives. Sometimes, however, you know it by the way your life is changing. You know it by the fact that you find yourself becoming the person you want very much to be. This completes your spiritual house of faith and allows you to express what you believe. When you're on your game, you're living out and acting out who and what you believe God to be. When you do that consciously, there's great integrity in your life. When you do that unconsciously, you're also living out what your unconscious faith says about God. The danger is that you may be hypocritical if what you say you believe and what you do don't match. Here's another written statement of personal faith by a person who's trying to live by faith, telling how her life has changed because of this new direction. I believe in one God, whose love for me and everything known and unknown to me is powerful, unconditional, and unwavering. God is my hope, my guide, my salvation. Without God, I am nothing. I do not fear God in the modern sense of the word fear, because love transcends fear. God lives through me. God is energized by the love flowing out from me. I believe Jesus is of God, as all mortals are of God. Everything about his life and teachings are not known to us, and what is known is open to interpretation. Jesus accepted God's gift of love that is available to all of us, but it was on a level that we find difficult to sustain. It is my belief that Jesus' death symbolizes and offers us the hope of spiritual death and resurrection. When I really think about Jesus, I weep from the depths of my soul. She continues, God uses the Holy Spirit to communicate with me to serve as my inner voice. When faced with great sadness and despair, when the world is more than I can handle alone, I pray to God for love to fill my soul. Only when I am full of God's love and let that love flow through me can I fully enjoy the richness of life. That was written by a woman here in Oklahoma City. There is an important verse in the prophecy of Habakkuk which was quoted and emphasized by the Apostle Paul, St. Augustine, and the Protestant reformers, which says, "Those who know how to live, live by faith. Those who know how to live express their faith on a daily basis, in word and deed, written and oral and intentional. They may express their faith in artistic endeavors if they're gifted in the arts. They express their faith in their attitude toward life in general and specifically toward family, friends, co-workers, community members, and the list goes on. Those who know how to live express their faith in the quest for justice and fairness in society. They have causes about which they care deeply. Not only do they vote in elections, but they often get involved in the political process, campaigning for candidates they believe can make our society more just and fair. They often find a way to be involved in a humanitarian effort, from animal shelters to feeding the hungry. They're usually as generous as possible in their giving to charitable organizations, supporting causes in which they believe with their money. You have your ways to express your faith in a conscious manner. How much richer it is to live out your faith and know why you're doing what you're doing. See you next time.